There are three kinds of lies: lies, damned lies, and statistics. Mark Twain. Good evening, everybody. All right, mic looks like it's working. Everything is running smoothly. Okay, so hopefully I'm going to try to get this done in under an hour. But if it goes over, it goes over. Let's move it over to the browser. So I was doing a little trolling. I was watching this video 2 weeks ago. As you can see here, it's from Aeon Byte Gnostic Radio. I really liked the show, even like just the stuff he was doing before he named it Aeon Byte, and this was just I think that was like 7 years ago. And then I just kind of see it just change for the worse, just the amount of the types of guests that he was bringing on, and I was like, ah. And so sometimes I do a little bit of trolling. You know, I'm not above trolling. So I typed in LOL, climate change, these guys coming from straight out of the factory. Because he was adamant about climate change. And, you know, of course, that was the big thing with this conversation that he had, or the interview. And, you know, it's like, his reply was, yeah, I guess climate change now is as important to you as online trash talking. And I was like, no need to be so butthurt about a comment. No wonder censorship is on the rise. Then he just points to me to a link to NIH.gov site, which I always read those articles because I like to talk to people and say, well, you believe in an authority, and one of the authorities you actually believe in is the government. And government, of course, you want to reference .gov sites because they're part of the government, and go, okay, here's what the government says, and I'll take on the opposing viewpoint, and they're gonna be like, well, maybe there's a mistake or something, whatever it is. But most of the time it's just they're moving the goalpost, and that's what we're gonna go over today. And so this is kind of how it kind of all started, and it's like, you know what, he kind of, you know, was someone replied, John K. Phone. I don't know who John K. Phone. You go to John K. Phone, and of course he's just one of these people who leaves a lot of comments, who has no videos, but 5 subscribers, oddly. And then Derek Hunter, the one being interviewed, he has 109 subscribers. Not many videos, but mostly from a long time ago. But he did write a book. Anyways, rather than addressing me, he addresses the John K. Phone. So it's like, what if he was him, John K. Phone? You know, he said some straw man, and he's going, yep, see, the other person's using straw man argument, etc. And so I just go, look, you're welcome to discuss your stance on human made instead of man-made. So you can call it human made, and a whole bunch. And we're going to go over most of it in this episode. His reply was, haha, no thanks. Time and energy better spent elsewhere. That's like going on to a KKK broadcast to discuss racism. And I reply, I figured that'd be the case. A white man equating a Korean American to the KKK, racist much? So I thought that was funny. I don't think he replied back after that. So today we're going to discuss moving the goalposts. And there's a lot of irony in this, because when we look into moving the goalpost videos, they're going to describe how people who discuss flat Earth and climate change skeptics or deniers, that they're moving the goalposts. But we're going to see that that's actually reverse. Because for one, when you take that stance that the Earth is a globe, you have to provide the evidence for it, right? And you're gonna state what those are. It's not like the first stance before that someone mentions the Earth is a globe is that the if someone says that the Earth is a globe, it's not a globe. Type of thing. So it's not like there were at first climate change skeptics, and then there came along people who said, nope, climate change is real. Nope. People who it was actually people who said, hey, look, human-made climate change is occurring, and then after that, people look into it and go, no, human-made climate change. It's either not occurring or there's just not evidence for it. And then it's all about, well, time will tell. So we'll see how moving the goalpost really takes into effect. I equate it to the people who talk about the end of the world. You know, the people who all these religious zealots, they go, the end of the world is cometh and it will occur on whatever date, and then that date passes and they go, oh, something went wrong with the calculations. The end of the world is going to be blah blah blah, and the day comes and the world hasn't ended, and then they keep going until they just stop. But people still listen to that person. People still believe the next time he talks about the end of the world, no, believe it, although they'll probably believe it a little bit less because it didn't happen yet. But the ones who actually just lost out on a whole bunch of stuff because of the predictions that they believed from him or her. And so moving the goalposts, seen a lot in TV tropes. A very good one is Darth Vader. How he goes, Calrissian, take the princess and the Wookiee to my ship. Lando Calrissian says, you said they'd be left at the city under my supervision. Vader goes, I am altering the deal. Pray that I don't alter it any further. And so there's all these types of moving the goalposts that can happen. And this comic strip right here is you've got the boss saying, starting today, the job requires a PhD. Feel free to apply for your own job. And the guy goes, whew, luckily I have a PhD. And the boss goes, you do? Well, the job also requires an Olympic gold medal. And so the worker goes, well, synchronized swimming 1992, he shows the gold medal. And the boss goes, and the posthumous Congressional Medal of Honor. So, it's the boss keeps moving the goalpost. Whenever the goal is met, the goalpost just keeps moving. That's the entire trope. It can take different forms. Analyzing statistics is another one kind of related to it, and that's why I did a quote of the day. I like to find quotes where it's mostly people from the past and stuff like that. Therefore, that's where you got the Mark Twain. Now, what's funny is, so I did moving the goalpost for YouTube, and I did a search, right? And the search, I looked into 3 because one, they're both talking about pretty much just moving the goalpost fallacy of the week, and the second was Tariq Nasheed moving the culture goalpost. I didn't really want to go into, and that's 2 hours 20 minutes. I didn't want to go into a whole thing about a cultural goalpost. I just wanted, what does YouTube show as far as moving the goalpost? The first one has 149,000 views. The third one has 8.3 thousand views. So it may not necessarily be on views, but it looks like it is. Now, what I find interesting is when I play back these snippets, ironically, they're going to talk about the ones who are moving the goalpost is climate change deniers and flat earthers. So I just thought it was funny. And we're going to show the opposing view using the fallacy because that's where it starts, right? They're the ones who set the goalposts up, and then it's the deniers pretty much, or skeptics saying, no, you're wrong because here's the evidence for it. It's like someone did a science experiment and the results they got seem a little skeptical. So everyone else goes, well, we're going to do the same experiment and see if that's true because we want to see if it really does work that way. And then they do it and they go, well, we didn't get the same results as you. So what was different? Did you not give us the correct directions on how to complete your experiment? What is it? Anyways, enough of my talking. Here's what this person says.
Played. In conversation, it looks something like this. Mike and Straw Mike are talking about climate change. Things aren't too bad right now. I'll be worried when there is a clear difference in the climate. Things are bad right now. We have ice cores and tree rings. We know clearly that the climate hasn't been this bad for as long as humans have been around. Those are indirect measurements. You are making a leap of faith. What about all of those written climate records from around the world going back 150 years? 150 years is nothing. Show me written climate records going back a few thousand years, and then maybe I will change my tune.
Well, what's funny is the person who is the climate change skeptic is the straw man, right? Isn't that's also doubly ironic in a certain case. So that is funny. So that's kind of moving the goalpost if you're arguing for the side of the climate change denier. Now here's the third video. The second video, remember, was the cultural goalpost, but this one talks about the flat earthers as they're the ones moving the goalposts.
It's the same with flat earthers screaming, "Show me the curvature." Not with a picture. Pictures can be photoshopped. Not with anything that requires eyesight. That could be an optical illusion. Not with anything that requires an understanding of physics or geometry. Science and math were made up by NASA to make people believe the Earth is round. If the one undertaking the challenge is the one moving the goalposts to make it easier for himself, the fallacy is called backpedaling. You claim to be a great shot who can totally hit the...
So, again, the straw man arguments from the flat Earth side. But I never liked that. I mean, the first thing you do is look at what I hate to say it, the quote-unquote authority are saying about how it was proven. And not just proven now, but how it was proven thousands of years ago. So again, one of the scientists that I very highly looked up to, even me, I really like Carl Sagan, even if he, I don't know if he lied on purpose or whatnot, but, you know, watch this snippet, and of course this video might be taken down, copyright strikes, etc., because I'm playing back a lot of the videos. Unfortunately, I can't do anything about it. So if you want to watch the full video, you're gonna have to go to my LBRY channel, LBRY, and all of it's gonna be there. One of these days, I will, if I ever have enough funds, I will set up my own website and host all my videos for viewing there. But until then, you're just gonna have to go to LBRY to watch it.
Pythagoras seems to have been the first person in the history of the world to decide that the Earth was a sphere. Perhaps he argued by analogy with the moon or the sun. Maybe he noticed the curved shadow of the Earth on the moon during a lunar eclipse. Or maybe he recognized that when ships leave Samos, their masts disappear last.
And so again, because the reason why that they're disappearing is because the Earth is a curve, and therefore when you see them move past a certain distance, it's going to appear as though that they're moving over that curve. And of course, they don't show it here. They show from a very high elevation a ship from a far distance. They don't really show the result of that hypothesis. All right, and then here's Michelle Thaler. So, you know, basically everyone gets their proof from NASA. They provide pictures, they provide videos, they provide websites, they provide whatever. And so NASA is an quote-unquote authority for most people, where they would point to and saying, this is the proof. So this is Michelle Thaler. And I even put up the CC so you can read that portion.
More complicated. One of the things you can see yourself with a pair of binoculars is if you actually go out to a lake and there are boats on that lake, the farther away a boat is, the more the bottom of the boat will disappear, and you'll basically just see the mast of the boat. And as a boat goes farther and farther away, the last thing you will see is the very top of the mast of that boat. And that's because the boat is actually going over the horizon that's curved. And that means that as it goes farther and farther away, you see less and less of the bottom of it and more of the top of that. You can see that with binoculars, by an ocean, by a lake. It's really easy. That wouldn't happen if the Earth were flat. You would simply see the boat getting smaller and smaller and smaller as it went farther away, but you'd be able to see the whole thing with the same proportions. Now, another way that...
So that was one way. Again, she stated it pretty much exactly as Carl Sagan stated it, you know. That's the goalpost right there, right? Just remember this. That's the goalpost. You just go out there. It's very simple with binoculars, whatever you got. Just look over the horizon at the different ships as they're moving away, and you'll see that you know, you're gonna see them start to disappear with the mast, with the bottom disappearing first, and then the top of it going away last. And if the Earth were flat, you would just see them going smaller the further away, and you would just keep being able to see them based on optics. Well, and then now just to give you an idea, this is Brain Stuff, how stuff works. He's got 643,000 subscribers, and he's going to just go over a little brief idea of how far can you see, as far as, you know, what's the distance when you see the horizon. So he's going to base it off of sea level, you know, as close to sea level as you can get, and also just average height of maybe a tall person. Okay.
Hi, I'm Josh Clark, and this is Brain Stuff, and I'm here to answer a very pressing question. Have you ever been standing at the edge of water, say like an ocean, and looked out on the horizon and said, I wonder exactly how far away that horizon is? You know, where the sky meets the sea, that's the horizon. Well, it turns out because the Earth is curved that it depends on where you're standing and how far above water you're standing. Let's say that you are in the water, right? And you're up to, say, your eyes are about 8 inches above the water surface. Well, again, remember the Earth is curved, and despite the ocean seeming flat, they actually curve themselves, which if you've ever really looked at the horizon, it kind of goes like this a little bit, which is pretty cool. But it also goes like this, right? So if your eyes are 8 inches above the water, right then you're about a mile away from that horizon point where the sky meets the ocean.
All right, so if you're about 8 inches at sea level in the water, distance is 1 mile. Just remember that.
As far as you can tell. If you're standing up above water and you're like I am, about 6 feet tall, that means your eyes are about 5.5 feet above the water's edge, which means that you're about 3 miles away from the horizon.
So, all right, if you're a tall person like him, 6 feet, you know, about your eyes are leveled about 5.5 feet, you're gonna see 3 miles. Now, let's take into account another thing, right? Okay, so there's this video that I was looking at. It's like, look, it's easy to prove flat earthers wrong, easily, because, well, first, all you had to do is just say, look, the Earth being a globe was proven 2,000 years ago by Pythagoras. You know, things going over the horizon just disappears. You got that from NASA. You got that from Carl Sagan. You know, those are what you would call 3 quote-unquote authorities on the proposition that the Earth is a globe, and there's proof for it. Now, I got a 4th one, right? I wanted to see actual authority of science or the government provide that experiment shown to us on video. And I tried searching for it. I finally found one, and it was Genius by Stephen Hawking, episode 6, Where We Are. And I watched it, and I was like, oh, easy. This proves that the Earth is a globe. And then I watched it again, and it's like, wait a second. I'm seeing something that looks like a doctored video on the results. And when you have to doctor the results, I'm like, why? Why are you doctoring the results? What's going on here? Now, this one is just you know, links to the video, original video. Basically, I'm going to Amazon where you could watch it for free. Not anymore. You have to subscribe to, I don't know, CBS or something. But let's see. Genius by Stephen Hawking, 3 birds. Actually, all I have to do is type this. If you don't type in my name, you won't find it, just so you know. Is it? No, wait. Why fake it? What happened to it? My goodness. Can't even get to the video I want to show. Hold on. Let me find it. Could that be it? Was that it? I think that is it. No. Well, we'll just try it. I think this is it. Maybe I had it right the entire time. So nope, that was not it. There was a video on it that someone linked to it on MetaBunk, which you can MetaBunk Stephen Hawking. Maybe it'll show it. Wow, are they just deleting all these sites? That doesn't make any sense. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, but you know, even DuckDuckGo are making it so you can't find certain things. Here we go. Here's MetaBunk. I showed this a long time ago. It's funny because they're looking into it and saying, look, this proves that the Earth isn't flat, you know, same as me. And then they saw my video and they linked to it. They go, hey, wait, look at this. All right, here it is. So you'll see the whole video.
Yeah, I have you on the telescope. Go ahead and land. As it lands, it completely disappears from my line of sight.
Let me know when you can see us on spots of the horizon.
I got him.
So at first I was like, look, Earth ain't flat. It's easy. And
As it
then
lands,
take a closer look at the video, and yeah, it is doctored. And here's the proof of the doctored video. And my whole point is like, why fake it? If it is a globe, why do you need to fake the results? And that's when it's like, all right, if that goalpost, that goalpost didn't move, the original goalpost, you know, it's like, nope, it was a big miss. You set up the goalpost and you got scored on. So you got scored on. So number 2, what do? You create a video running that same experiment, and then you fake the results of that experiment. Well, yeah, that's 2-0 now, right? And I guess 3 strikes you're out. The 3rd strike we'll see, right? Anyways, you can just view the entire video. These are just snapshots, stills. The top one is the helicopter going down, and then the bottom portion is the helicopter going up, and you got the 3 birds just in total formation. You know, if it wasn't for those 3 birds, it would have been a little bit difficult to actually identify that there was post-editing occurring for the results, because you know, you could say that the water looks very similar, but you'd have to do just complete overlay. But here you can easily see by just the 3 birds, and you can see it if you just slow down the original video, that those 3 birds move along the same formation, etc. Now, so the other thing is, other people are out there that are actually doing these ships over the horizon. Some may not even be taking one side or the other. They just like how far you can zoom on a particular type of camera, the Nikon P900 or Nikon P1000. This person right here, which I'm gonna play back. All right, shows. I'm not gonna mute it. About 6 kilometers, which is about 3, almost 4 miles. But he's that's just about the distance to the island. And then there's boats that he's pointing at here, so it's gonna be a bit further than that. You can see that this is where he says he's starting from. That island has a little jut out there, a jetty or some sort, and then he's looking over to boats that are moored or over here on the opposite island. So you can notice that he starts in a tent, which is going to be actually less than 5.5 feet, but of course he is kind of standing a little bit higher. This test could have been better done, but it's just just an example. There are people who just do it on the shoreline as low as they can, but I mean that's supposed to be anywhere from 4 to 6 miles distance. And what would happen if you're 5.5 feet? You'd only be able to see about 3 miles, right? But it doesn't matter to the globe earthers, because they it doesn't matter what results you show. That the end result is that they're going to move the goalpost. And again, they're gonna talk about are we even looking at the same measures? We're witnessing severe atmospheric refraction, and you could do a search and ships disappearing, horizon refraction, and you'll just get a bunch of people who are very pro globe Earth and talking about refraction, and that's what you're seeing. Even though the rebuttal typically is, well, that's not exactly how refraction would work in this case, but still, it doesn't even need to go there. All you have to say is, well, you just moved the goalpost. The goalpost was moved. The original proof was that Carl Sagan, he's talking about Pythagoras, 200 BC, saying that the Earth was a globe. One of them was because the ships disappearing over the horizon. You got Michelle Thaler saying, yeah, there's that. They didn't say anything about refraction. This person didn't say anything about refraction. In PBS's Genius by Stephen Hawking, they didn't say anything about refraction. And all of a sudden, we've got hundreds, if not thousands, of people posting videos of zooming with the P900 and P1000 on the horizon. Some even just try and get as low as they can, if they can, very calm waters, just to see how far they can see, where the curve would have made it so you shouldn't have been able to see it, right? But then the goalpost moved because, well, the reason why you're seeing that is because of refraction. So that's an example of goalpost, moving the goalpost in the globe Earth scenario. So what's this part?
At Flat Earther, science is not done by wildly guessing and being confident about it. We use the globe model because it accurately describes reality and can make predictions, something that the Flat Earth model is incapable of.
All right, so here, very similar to this is the argument that the Flat Earth model can't make accurate predictions. It can also be seen by NASA. They'll say it here. Let's see. This is, again, science.ksc.nasa.gov. All right, why are they interested in eclipses? And they're basically talking about eclipses through traditions and cultures, calendars, and eclipses. And they're all talking about how they're able to predict lunar eclipses. And then they go, well, why no solar eclipse predictions, right? So here it is. This is why they describe that there's no solar predictions, no solar eclipse predictions. The diameter of Earth's shadow upon the moon is over 12,000 kilometers during a lunar eclipse. Compare this with the 300-kilometer shadow of the moon on Earth during a solar eclipses. They worded that wrong. They should have edited it. This makes predicting lunar eclipses a forgiving enterprise, even when you do not know the precise details of the moon's orbit. You can be just about anywhere on the side of Earth facing the moon and still see a lunar eclipse, but for a solar eclipse, you have to be in a very specific geographic location. To forecast a solar eclipse, you would need to know the details of the lunar orbit to a small fraction of a degree of an arc to predict where the moon's shadow will cross Earth's surface. With the exception of the ancient Chinese and Greeks, no written records suggest that the moon, stars, or planets were routinely measured with this degree of accuracy. So all we have to do is say, all right, so even that, so the globe earther, and then NASA saying that, well, it takes calculations of the globe earth model in essence. Now, if you type in ancient Mayans predicted solar, like you could do solar eclipses, but basically you're going to come across a bit of a lot. Ancient Mayan astronomy, the sun, moon, and planets. The Maya are expert at predicting solar phenomena such as eclipses. Did the Mayans really predict a solar eclipse? History of. Yes, they really predicted the 1991 solar eclipse. I suggest you read Classic Maya Prediction of Solar Eclipses. How did the Mayans predict solar eclipses? Solved. Basically you can look at all of them. Some of them I can't show just because I'm on DuckDuckGo and they don't like the privacy. So I can't view them. But here's live science. I mean, it's live science thing. Ancient Maya predicted 1991 solar eclipse by Miriam Kramer, January 8th, 2013. Talks about how anthropologists decoded early Mayan hieroglyphics from 4 codices, finding the Maya accurately predict modern-day astronomical phenomena, shown here in an image from the so-called Dresden Codex. Now, might move the goalposts without any proof, like, this was Maya in 200 AD or 500 AD, or this was Mayan codex of like the found in the 1200s, 1300s, whatever. You know, the anthropologist was a husband-wife team, Harvey and Victoria Bricker, and they have their own presentation that they had and how they got to the entire thing. They're even looking at the globe model for this. But still, if you look up Dresden Codex and how that got to be, and the Mayan civilization, even if you go to wikis, you're going to see that they'll talk about the Dresden Codex. And what was sorry, that was a search. So when did the Mayans ever encounter Europeans? Right? I mean, it's like the only way that the Mayans would know the Earth was a globe to make those calculations is they've met them before. But every historical written account that's seen, even in whatever quote unquote authority that you want to find, will always state that the first contact between Maya and European explorers came in like 1502, around that time, right? That's the Mayan conquest, Spanish Mayan. If you want to call it war, it really wasn't, whatever it wasn't anywhere near in BC, nor was it in AD. That's written historical quote unquote authorities version of history. But then we're going to see a lot of weird stuff if you go beyond what I'm talking about here. As far as like symbols and things like that, and similarities and stories and a whole bunch of stuff. So that's just another investigative thing to do. So therefore, look, you've got again someone saying that can't make predictions out of the flat Earth model. Well, Mayans were pretty much, as far as we know, flat earthers. That's always been stated They didn't have any contributions to globe Earth being proved, yet they're able to make predictions as accurate as to 1991 AD. So, again, that's false. The only way you can, that their counter argument would be is to move the goalpost. Now, this is going to be seen a lot, moving the goalpost. I don't want to focus on the globe Earth, flat Earth thing. Just wanted to the only reason I added globe Earth to this is because of the results of the YouTube search, moving the goalpost, and these talk specifically about the flat earthers moving the goalpost and the climate change deniers moving the goalpost. So I just wanted to show people that it's actually the opposite. Let's see. Now, the thing that I did a while ago is talk about helium, because this kind of goes along with sorry, there's just so many dang things. All right, so the whole idea of helium is going to run out. That's kind of the basis, because of they're escaping through Earth's atmosphere. So as all the helium is going to be mined through, there's not going to be any more helium left at a certain time. So this article is like limited helium being wasted. This is in the Lewiston Daily, Sunday, April 27th, 1979. What's interesting is you can do searches on newspaper archives that Google did a long time ago. They were archiving everything digitally. They stopped doing it probably because they don't want people looking up all these old articles and doing their own research. Especially this, moving the goalposts, right? You've got chronicling America.loc.gov, so it's the Library of Congress, where they digitized all the newspapers from 1773 to 1963. And again, not all, just whatever that they had in hand to do. So trying to find something from 1964 and present is going to be a little bit more difficult to find. So basically you have to use what you can, and I'm basically using Google's no longer doing their chronicling of it. So in August 24th, 2010, in the physics.org, there's news. And this is by Lynn Edwards from physics.org. The world is running out of helium. This is coming from the Nobel Prize winner. So a renowned expert on helium says we are wasting our supplies of the inert gas helium and will run out within 25 to 30 years. So it'll run out anywhere, since this is 2010 when the article was written, anywhere from 2035 to 2040. It's 2021, so we still got about 14 to 19 years, which will have disastrous consequences for hospitals and industry. I mean, this seems like it would be the more important thing, because when we look into climate change, we're going to see that, life might end before the end of the century because of climate change. Well, it might end. Things might be a lot worse before that, just because helium is very important. Again, for just industry in general, hospitals, all the things that we use for communications. I'll just read the article. Sorry. Professor of Physics Robert Richardson from Cornell University in Ithaca, New York, won the 1996 Nobel Prize for his work on superfluidity in helium, and has issued a warning. The supplies of helium are being used at an unprecedented rate and could be depleted within a generation. Liquid helium is vital for its use in cooling the superconducting magnets in magnetic resonance imaging, so MRIs. There's no substitute because no other substance has a lower boiling point. Helium is also vital in the manufacture of liquid crystal displays, LCDs, and fiber optics. In MRI scanners, the helium is recycled, but often the gas is wasted since it is thought of as a cheap gas, and as such, it is often used to fill party balloons and as a party trick, destroying people's voices when it is inhaled. Professor Richardson warned the gas is not cheap because the supply is inexhaustible. Because the Helium Privatization Act passed in 1986 by the U.S. Congress, the act required that helium stores held underground near Amarillo in Texas to be sold off at a fixed rate by 2015, regardless of the market value, to pay off the original cost of the reserves. So, anyways, Richardson said it has taken 4.7 billion years for the Earth to accumulate our helium reserves, which we will have exhausted within about 100 years of the U.S.'s national helium reserves having been established in 1925. The reserve is a collection of disused underground mines, pipes, and vats extending 300 kilometers from north of Amarillo into Kansas. He warned that the helium is released to the atmosphere, and helium balloons, for example, is lost forever. There's no chemical way of manufacturing helium, and the supplies we have originated in a very slow radioactive alpha decay. So they've set up again this goalpost that cannot move. Helium can only be mined, and we've mined pretty much as we could, and it's gonna run out. So the only way to do it is to mine more. There's no way to manufacture it. And then I was looking around for it, and physicstoday.scitation.org, helium shortages has ended, at least for now. So I'm curious. This was in 5th of June 2020. Physics Today, again, David Kramer, helium shortages ended, at least for now. Scientists say they can get as much of the light element as they need, but prices continue forward. So they don't really specify exactly how they are able to make more. You know, they said at least Nobel Prize winning physicists said, well, there's no way to manufacture it. And then here again, they just said, well, we don't have to worry about that anymore. We could get as much of the light element as we need. They don't describe the process again. The scare tactic. We're going to run out. This is the time where it's going to run out. There's no way we can solve it. And then goalpost moves. No. We figured out how to do it. We can't tell you exactly. But this is how it's gonna be done. So don't worry about it anymore. And then something's gonna happen. Something else is gonna happen. And say, hey, here's a new goalpost. Hey, and we've seen they've gotten better at it. Their goalposts have been, I guess the initial goalpost for this was 100 years. When you look into climate change, some of the results of what we'll see from global warming and climate change is going to happen in anywhere from 25 to 30 years. I mean, and that was the same thing, 25, 30 years from the physicists making that prediction or forecast, whatever you want to call it. And again, when you see that 25, 30 years go by, majority of people aren't even going to remember the article or what they said. And then just, well, what happened now? Oh, they figured it out, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. And so I think this helium thing is very little, very light. Like most people don't care. They're not going to be up in arms about it, and it's not going to run out. They like to say it's going to run out. Again, it's the same thing with people who predict the end of the world, the apocalyptic events, and Harold Camping is very well renowned for that and makes millions of dollars. And I would love to make a wager that if someone makes a end of the world prediction, I would love to wager that they're not. I want to raise as much money as I can, as I say, hey, everyone is gonna make we'll do like 100-1 odds or something. I don't know, like that. Yeah, maybe everyone who pitches in, they're gonna get like triple, quadruple, whatever money back from it. Who knows? It's like, I'll bet you $1 billion. Who knows? Maybe they won't have $1 billion, but they'll probably have a couple million. So it's like, hey, I'll bet you like $10 million. I tried to raise 100,000, but basically, give me some good odds here that the end of the world's not going to happen. I mean, obviously, because God told you, or you did your, divine calculations. So that's never going to happen. I can't even get anyone to talk to me when they wanted to say, we got really worry about climate change. So again, I was trying to find more stuff for global warming. Now remember, before human-made climate change, it was man-made climate change, because it was climate change, but it was global warming, man-made global warming, right? So it's hard to find a lot of that through the digital archives up to 1963. I think a lot of it started coming about around the 1980s. But in the 1980s, they said, hey, we're going to see some things happen. I remember sometime it was in the 80s and 90s. I wish I could find it. I haven't found it yet. It was because there are paintings of Seattle being underwater, and someone attributed that in a certain amount of years, like by 2020 or 2010, I don't remember, Seattle's going to be like 17 feet underwater. They got the Space Needle being underwater and stuff like that. But I can't find that anymore. So I don't know if that was just imagination, or there's just none of that archived, right? But we can see in certain instances where we'll see, we'll talk about the Maldives, because there was actually a documentary called something President, but we'll get into that. I just want to show this article from the AP, apnews.com. The problem with finding AP news articles is that, well, they unfortunately have a weird way of archiving. So you can't actually search through any of their archives. But if you've got where they put the archives, you can, get it that way. So they do have a lot of their old web pages archived. It's just very difficult to try to find them, even through search engines. Okay, so this is UN predicts disaster of global warming not checked. Peter James Spielman, June 29th, 1989. United Nations, a senior UN environment official, says entire nations could be wiped off the face of the earth by rising sea levels if the global warming trend is not reversed by the year 2000. So it's been 21 years since the year 2000. So we cannot reverse the trend of global warming. So, we've moved past that goalpost. Unfortunately, when we see, read articles about human-made climate change, they're going to move the goalpost again. If it reaches this year, we're not going to be able to reverse it. Well, that first goalpost was the year 2000. We can't reverse it anymore. So no point in doing it, right? Well, no, they're going to say, no. Whatever reasons, the goalpost has been moved. So we need to reverse the trend before it's too late. So I just wanted to point out this early article, and we'll keep reading because it's nice. Coastal flooding and crop failures would create an exodus of eco-refugees, threatening political chaos, said Noel Brown, director of the New York office of the UN Environment Program, or UNEP. He said governments have a 10-year window of opportunity to solve the greenhouse effect before it goes beyond human control. As the warming melts polar ice caps, ocean levels will rise up to 3 feet, enough to cover the Maldives and other flat island nations, Brown told the Associated Press in an interview on Wednesday. Coastal regions will be inundated. 1/6 of Bangladesh could be flooded, displacing a fourth of its 90 million people. A fifth of Egypt's arable land on the Nile Delta would be flooded, cutting off its food supply, according to a joint UNEP and U.S. Environmental Protection Agency study. And then again, you're never going to get links to that study and where that joint UNEP, anyways. Ecological refugees will become a major concern, and what's worse is you may find that people can move to dry ground, but the soils and the natural resources may not support life. Africa doesn't have to worry about land, but would you want to live in the Sahara, he said. UNEP estimates it would cost the United States at least $100 billion to protect its east coast alone. shifting climate patterns would bring back 1930s Dust Bowl conditions to Canadian and U.S. wheatlands, while the Soviet Union could reap, anyways, blah, blah, blah. The most conservative scientific estimate that the Earth's temperature will rise to 1 to 7 degrees in the next 30 years. That's a conservative scientific estimate. Again, this is 1989. 30 years from that is 2019. So in 2019, again, this is very easy. 1 to 7 degrees. Well, conservative. The difference may seem slight, but he said the planet is only 9 degrees warmer now than during the 8,000 year ice age that ended 10,000 years ago. You know, will we be able to reverse the process within 2000? There's nothing we can do. Even the most conservative scientists already tell us there's nothing we can do now to stop a change of about 3 degrees temperature rise. So, man, so we gotta act now, etc. I think there's even the chronicling one. There's so many links I have to. We may come across it, but anyways, the island president. I remember watching this. This might have been 2011 when I watched it. I can't remember, but I was like all up in arms. Like, I'm very environmental. I guess I call it myself an environmentalist. Yeah, small carbon footprint is good and all that stuff, but it's just treat nature with respect. You want to clean up what's around you. You want clean water. You want clean air, of course, right? Obviously, you wouldn't not want to have that. I mean, if you do, then let's see where you live. You know, do you really want to live in a horrible environment and drink from the tap and all that stuff? No, I doubt it, right? So just, you know, do you want to go fishing in a dump or a swampland, or would you rather fish in nice clean water and all that jazz? So you know, if everyone had that mindset, we would probably not even have to worry about this quote unquote human made climate change. But it talks about how he's doing the island president, the president Mohammed Nasheed, who's president of the Maldive Islands, are just working tirelessly to save his country from global climate change. And you know, the documentary seems pretty dire that within a couple years, hey, they're not going to have an island at all. The population seems to be in a steady incline. So currently, as far as 2018, so there's not really no, you know, the population isn't getting smaller. People aren't moving away from it. People aren't dying from it. Population is rising. Wanted to look at the population density because it's going to get it's increasing. Kind of wanted to do just a look. You got all these increases the population density, but is it getting a lot higher because there's just less land? I don't really see an indication of that. I want to see aerial photos from like 1990, right? It's hard to find anything like that. But it'd be nice to see the main island. The main island is called Malay, I think. Malay, Mali. I don't know. But that's the capital of it. So the Maldives, Malay. Here's this island here. There's these old maps of Malay. It's hard to measure again the distance, but again it can be probably found somewhere, which anyone could do more research on it. Here's the Maldives. Check if you want to find Malay, and you know, there a lot of information on it. So what I wanted to find is just what's the square kilometers of the island, and what was the square kilometers of the island before, on different censuses or something. So currently, if you go to Wikipedia for Malay, it says it has an area of 8.3 square kilometers. Okay, so you know, I wanted to find, you know, another source where what they say in prb.org, basically July 13, 2017. Talks about Malay, I think kilometers. Okay, so however, in September 14th, there's 2 square kilometers. So I'm wondering, well, okay, so it's not 8.3, it's 2 square kilometers. But this is just, it's hard to find because one's saying 8.3 and one's saying 2 kilometers, so I want to find more. Countrystudies.us says it's approximately 2 square kilometers, so I don't know where they're getting that 8.3 square kilometers. So I found something that was based on a 1990 census, where they're looking at the, I want to say, small island approximately 2 square kilometers. This is 1990. All right, so I'd say since 1990, it's 2 square kilometers. Up until 2017, it says 2 square kilometers. Unfortunately, when you look at the Wikipedia for it, it says 8.3. I don't know if that's a typo. Maybe the sea level dipped rather than rose. But anyways, I went from 2 square kilometers to 8.3. I wanted to do, or anywhere from 1990 to 2017, it's still 2 square kilometers based on, say, this and this 1990 documentation. So it's still 2 square kilometers over almost 30 years, in 27 years. So they haven't really, that hasn't changed. I mean, it's talking about square kilometers. If the shore of the island is raised by 2 inches of sea level, you got to square that across the entire island, and this can be a lot less than 2 square kilometers as the result. But we don't see any indication that any of that is occurring. Now, so that is the, we've got, that's the classic example of the goalpost. The goalpost, what's the effect of human-made climate change that we got to be afraid of, that we really have to worry about? Well, we don't want sea levels to rise to a certain level, right? It's going to kill coral reefs. It's going to destroy, like I'm trying to find Seattle being underwater. It's getting to cover islands that are virtually pretty much flat, like the Maldives, Malay being one of them. So, if it rises in 2 inches, that's even horrible, but it's going to rise up to whatever. And, that was, that documentary again was 2011, global warming, that article in 1989, it's irreversible since the year 2000. Well, it's 2021 now, and we're not seeing any of the results that they predicted. So what do? They move the goalpost. The goalpost is, well, we're not going to see the full effects of human-made climate change with all of these things. So here, if you want to look at the sites, you just run a search here, site.news.google.com, /newspapers. That's if you want to find archived digital storage that Google did. Here I did one again, May 16th, 1989, where it talks about global warming could spark need for costly power plants. Global warming by the year 2010 could require the building of 86 more power plants at the cost of 110 billion or so. And this was a study conducted by DRI McGraw-Hill Energy Group of Lexington Atmospheric and Environmental Research Incorporated of Cambridge, using computer models. And Did we increase up to 86 more power plants? No, we did not. So again, a goalpost that wasn't met. I don't really want to go into too much of it. I want to look at the temperature changes. I was looking at this from all these different years. You know, the temperature changes that were supposedly supposed to happen within the end of the decade, and then going forward, conservative estimates of 1 to 7 degrees. But you know, the trends have always been on the rise, and it's just kind of been steadying out. You look at, say, the low 1898 average of 50.3 in Boston, and you get the lowest that was in 2014, 51. That wasn't very much. And again, the high in 2012, 54.4, and back then, 1991, 53.4, about 1 degrees. But you know, it seems like it was a lot higher temperatures back then, with seemingly a lot less carbon footprint back then. So it's odd because the temperature should be rising a lot more to melt polar ice caps, etc. Anyways, the idea is just to keep looking, and just looking at all the research that was done by scientists and UN or universities, all this other stuff. You know, hotter burning sun might be to blame. This is September 26, 1997. Anyways, I just keep searching, but basically the entire premise for climate change is we gotta hurry because we're gonna reach the point of no return, and in this much time, and then after that time passes, they go, well, things have been done, so the new point of no return is this year. You know, like this is in 2007. Reduction in carbon dioxide emissions by 2050. You know, I thought the reductions should have happened by the year 2000, but no, it's now 2050. Otherwise, we're not going to see we're going to see horrible results by the year 2100. You know, most of us aren't going to live to 2050 to see all the things that happen from 2050 to 2100, and then there's probably still going to be an ongoing thing. It's like, hey, we really need to reduce all these things, because if you don't change it by 2100, you know, we're going to see this happening in 2200. Well, most people are like, whatever, I'm not going to live that long. But they'll still, if they believe it, it's like I mean, like, I don't know. It was like the whole ozone depletion thing. It's like, we really gotta be scared of the depleting ozone. Back when I was in junior high school, and you know, you're gonna have to just keep wearing higher and higher, you know, SPF of sunblock. And I remember they did a parody on RoboCop, where they had a commercial of you know, they have SPF like 2000, right? Just because there was no ozone to protect anyone, so you have to wear SPF 2000. I don't know if it was actually that or not, but just really high number, ridiculous number, to block all the UV rays of the sun that'll cause cancer. So I just thought that was funny. That was back in the 80s. Now fast forward to 2021. That's, I mean, almost 40 years. It's almost half a decade. I mean, about 40, maybe anywhere from 30 to 40 years, but still. That was a big thing. I remember global warming was really starting to ramp up at that time. And now it's human-made climate change. And I was always, growing up, was like, yeah, we should do whatever we can to stop that. You know, very environmental friendly. Except when we look at those who are trying to be environmental friendly, it's obviously not the government. It's obviously not the corporations. They say that they are, but they don't really change anything. They've got, what is it, that public interface, whatever, public marketing. I don't know what it is. They have something where they they make it look like they're doing something positive, and they've made changes, except the same thing keeps occurring. And then they got the public face of the company saying, we've changed our ways, we're going green, all this other stuff. De Beers, the diamond company, right? Carbon neutral kimberlite. They're saying, we're gonna go 100% carbon neutral. Heck, we're gonna go carbon negative, and we're gonna use kimberlite to do that. So they're gonna. De Beers, if you don't know about De Beers, they're like the most evil corporation before Google or Amazon or whatever ended up being the most evil corporation. But De Beers was considered the most evil corporation before then. Anyways, they explore the carbon zapping powers of kimberlite. So everyone's gonna celebrate the corporations that were horrible. They've got a new outlook on life. And so these corporations are going to save humanity from human-made climate change because of zapping powers of kimberlite, where basically diamonds are stored in it. So it gives them an excuse to mine more diamonds and monopolize that market because it's good for the environment. Or no, it's not good for the environment. Well, they say it's good for the environment, but it's not. It's horrible. But they'll say, hey, it's going to fix climate change. So it gives people the perception that they're doing something good. And then a couple years go by, decades go by, and they go, hey, remember the time when you mentioned that you guys were going to reverse climate change because of a carbon zapping process of kimberlite? So what happened? And they'll be like, well, some other company, government, found something that was more efficient, so they used that, and we didn't really have to do much. But then we see that carbon dioxide levels are still rising rapidly, and we have to do something about it. And the goalpost keeps moving. Sometimes they'll just move it to someone else, and they'll go in there. So it's just. Man, it's tough because we're given limited access to research, getting limited access to accessing the documentation, which mentions that those research that we don't have access to, and then we can't really look up what they say about what the results are once a certain time passes. I'm sure that there's been hundreds, if not thousands, of maybe even millions of end of the world apocalypse dates, and every time they were wrong. Same thing with science model forecasts, predictions, etc., saying, hey, this is going to happen at this time. That doesn't happen, and they go, well, that was a conservative estimate. It's going to be this. Whatever excuse they give, it's still moving the goalpost. So you're going to constantly see that as a tactic for anything where things apparently are seeming to get worse. It always appears that way. I think I mentioned it with Connor Dolan, CG Dolan in conversations, and whether it is or not. Shouldn't change what you do in your day-to-day lives and stuff like that. If you want to live in a pigsty, you build your pigsty. If you want to live in a nice, clean environmental area, you make your way to do that. And you can't really change the corporations or the governments. I mean, you can try. It's just a futile thing, and they're gonna say, "Well, we're already doing that." You've got no indication that they're doing that except for what they say, what they market, and then if you go into it, you can say they're not doing a damn thing. And then people were going to say, look, you're just a conspiracy theorist for thinking that a corporation's doing something bad when they say they're doing something good. You've got no evidence. And go, well, they should be showing the evidence so we know for sure, so we could match it up. And they go, well, you're the one complaining. So basically, the ones moving the goalpost will say that you're always moving the goalpost. You need to find the evidence, and the evidence was already presented by them that wasn't met. So it's a very tricky situation, and people don't realize this. Anyways, this went over an hour, about an hour 11 minutes, and I'm gonna call it. Basically, you get the gist. I think what people should do is just keep looking into whenever you go into, you won't go into many arguments, but whenever you present something and you're against, you go, no, that's, I don't, first you're going to be like, I don't think that's occurring. And then, but to prove yourself wrong, you're going to try to first repeat whatever results that they've got, try to end up with a different result to prove you're right. But if no matter how many times you repeat the experiment, same result as they say, then we're going to be like, okay, I digress. This is this. And then the next thing to do is, well, I can't repeat the experiment. There's nothing, I don't really know the experiment you did, so I can't repeat it. But you've predicted that this is going to happen. So at this time, this date, this is the estimates. Did it occur? No. And so you follow up on that and they go, whoa. No. Do they move the goalposts? Basically is what you try to find. And if they do, then, well, they're just leading you on, right? Moving the goalpost is like, right? Imagine someone trying to go get you on a date, but you don't want to let them down. So you just kind of say, well, I'm busy today. I'm busy this week. How about next week? Ask me then. Maybe I might. And next week comes by. Well, I thought I was not going to be busy. Whatever, these lie move the goalpost. So moving the goalpost is very common trope. It's, people who are good people even do that, but you just really have to, it's just something you should watch out for. That's it for tonight. Have a good night. I'll see everyone another night.